Welcome everyone to RaizUp Sweden's panel discussion this month on the important topic of mental health in our industry. Our fantastic panel today includes Rickard Amidani, a social media specialist at Nordic Hotels and Resorts, and also Dee Burrowes, the mindset strategist and also professor in event and hospitality management, amongst many other things. My name is Marjorie Sundström, and I am the co-chapter leader of RaizUp Sweden together with Evelyn Hamilton, who is with us today as well. For those of you who don't know, RaizUp is a global community for the hospitality and travel tech industry. It is a personalized career platform where members aim to inspire, empower, and elevate one another. Evelyn and I launched the RaizUp community here in Sweden this year to bring our industry together, highlight great people, and also retain talent even through these difficult times. We also have RaizUp chapters all over the world, bringing together our truly inclusive community. So you can find out more on weraizup.com. Coincidentally, this week is Mental Health in Travel Awareness Week, a new initiative by travel industry professionals to remind us to check in on our mental state of ourselves and also those around us. Ribbon for Travel will be holding virtual events and clubhouse talks all this week on mental health, so please visit ribbonfortravel.com for more information. And this is now our fifth RaizUp Sweden panel discussion, and we've talked about social media, leadership, community building, diversity, equity, and inclusion in travel. But one very important topic that is linked to all of this is mental health. And we feel that this needs to be addressed more. Today, we hope to provide inspiration and support for those who are perhaps new to the industry or even those who have been struggling in the current crisis. I'll now hand you over to Evelyn, who will go through the housekeeping for today's event. Over to you, Evelyn.
Thanks, Marjorie. So hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. You're all muted as you're entering the room, but you're more than welcome to ask a question to the panel. You can do that in the chat or use the raising your hand emoji, and that will mean that I can just spotlight you and you won't disrupt anybody else as they're talking. Also, if you're not speaking, please do mute your microphone and just let me know how you're feeling or what you're thinking by writing in the chat box. You're more than welcome, and I'll be monitoring that all the way through until the end. But please do note that this session is going to be recorded and it's later going to be published on RaizUp's YouTube channel. So if you don't want to have your video on or you don't want to speak, then feel free not to. You're more than, it's okay to do that. But feel free to just write down in the chat and I'll be able to read out your comments or your thoughts. Thank you very much. If you have any feedback on this session or any others, you can reach out to us on raizup.sweden@weraizup.com. Over to you, Marjorie.
Great, thanks, Evelyn. So we'll get started. Rickard, you've been one of our panelists before talking about social media. So go ahead and introduce yourself along with your story and why you believe it's important to discuss mental health.
Thank you, Marjorie. My name is Rickard Amidani. I'm a social media specialist at Nordic Hotels and Resorts. It's one of those legs in Nordic Choice Hotels, and I think you all know Nordic Choice Hotels with Peter Stordalen as owner. My story is about how I went from a leading position until I almost took my own life because I got so deep in the anxiety and my performance anxiety took over me, and I felt like it was the end of my days on this earth. So I'm going to talk about it, and it's going to be really hard actually, because when you talk about something, you refer to those feelings and you recognize them and you feel like, geez, it was so close, still it's so far away. So please have patience with me, because like I said to the team, I take this in English. I've done it so many times in Swedish, but it's not the same thing. So I will try to do my best to take you there and let you understand and feel the emotions I felt when I was on the rock bottom. So here we go. It was all from today, maybe 3 years ago. You know, I worked in sales, and I worked with the commercial stuff that I've done so many years, and digital marketing as well. And I got all these goals, you know, I got all these goals, and I'm very goal oriented. So I looked at it, and, you know, I just crushed them. And now I feel like some American salesman, but it won't like that, you know, because when you have crushed something and you can't understand like why I'm doing this one, why do I chase all this glory or people's, you know, people's attention or their whatever. When you can't find why I'm doing this, and you come to a path where you can find why in any areas, you know, why am I who I am? You know, do I like myself? Do I love myself? And every answer becomes like, I don't know, or no. Then it's very, very, very hard to, you know, keep on going. And I should have stopped there, but I didn't. I had something on my shoulder said, you know what? You can earn more money. That's the reason. That's the reason. You can crush those goals. You know, just set up new ones and cross them as well. That's the answer. I didn't know it was, you know, mental illness, because before I had some, I don't know, I said that it was, you know, something people said just because they didn't want to go to work. I'm that kind of person, you know, and I work. So I'm not proud of it, but it was my reality then. It's not today, but I learned the hard way. So what happened was that I didn't find a reason for anything. I just worked harder and harder and harder and harder. I crushed everything because, you know, if you put in the time, you will get the results. The thing is, when you put in the time in the wrong way, you get the results you don't want. So I got, you know, more money than I have ever had when it comes to working, but I didn't find any joy about it. I just felt alone, felt empty, very, very, very empty. I felt like, you know, it was, I didn't even know it was Monday or Saturday. I had no clue. I was just, you know, like a robot, day in, day out, day in, day out. And my success started to like go downside, because I was so desperate, you know, to reach no goals, because I thought that was the answer to my mental health. That was the answer. I need to, you know, crush something that I can't see, but it's going to be there. I read all those books about how I'm going to be famous and yada yada yada, be the perfect leader for everyone else. But I didn't understand I had to lead myself to lead others in my team. So I just have no temper. I was getting disliked by everyone else and myself as well. My family, I treated them badly. You know, I raised my voice very quickly. I lost the temper every single time. But, you know, I just keep working. I was so naive and stubborn. I just keep working even harder. The only thing I did on those days was just work. And I have a daughter as well in this scenario. I have, but so I just work. I didn't care about anyone else, about myself, because I thought this is the answer. So what happened is that now my emotional rationality is like gone from the window, and people say to me, you know, you have to take a step back and just see the situation for what it is. You have to like see that you ain't yourself anymore. You have, how you say, become someone else, and this, we don't like that kind of guy, you know. You ain't you in no areas, because I have been very loyal, and like I've also always treat my friends with like a family matter, but now I didn't care about anyone. I have no empathy, you know. They say I feel like I have some bad this going on at home. I was okay, I understand, but you know, I got to work, so we talk another day, you know. I didn't like myself, and now, you know, when I see some clips on it, I just hate that guy, seriously, because I can refer to him. So that's the result, what happened when you don't take in action, when you don't, you know, see the situation for what it is. So, but then my body said, you know what, now I'm going to knock you the fuck out. I'm sorry for the language, but I really want you to, you know, feel this power I have in me. So they say, I'm going to knock you the fuck out. Now we're going to take hard versus hard. You can work your way out. Now you will see what happens when you don't listen to me. So then I started to have nightmares every single night. And you know, we have all have had nightmares, and it's, you know, scary, and wake up sweaty and say, Jesus, thankfully it was a nightmare. But here it was another different level. I can refer to them even today because it was the worst thing I've ever dreamt of. So, you know, it can be my daughter was raped, or my daughter was killed, or some was you know, it was always my family, and they was always being some punched. And I, in this, you know, my common role in my nightmare was always that I didn't do anything about it. I was weak. I was scared to do anything about it. So I wrote these nightmares down just to see the pattern. Why is this happen to me every single time I fall asleep? Because this one, we don't talk like once a week. We talk every single time I went to sleep, even if I slept 30 minutes or 5 hours, it don't matter. So, and I just felt, okay, so every single time I write this down, you know, I cried because I was scared of myself. You don't want to have those nightmares. I'm always weak. I'm always, you know, not there when I have to be there. So I got excited from it. And now my body say, you know what, now we're going to take up a notch. So they give me anxiety in my sleep as well. I don't know if you guys have had it, but what happens is that you feel you're going to drown, you know, you don't get any air. And when you sleep and get this kind of panic attack, then you have problem, because then it feels 100 times worse compared to when you have a panic attack. For example, when you're awake, then you cannot breathe, but here it feels like, you know, I'm going to die, and that's it. And I have those maybe twice a night upon those nightmares. So it came to but you know what? I worked even harder. 8 a.m. I was there and worked, and I crushed everything. I was not even a human being, seriously. Sometimes I didn't even know if I was awake or asleep because I haven't slept anything. But I was like a machine. I didn't know myself, and my temper gone down and down and down till a point I didn't have any. So what happens is, then my body say, you know what? You really are stubborn, right? But like I said, I'm going to knock you the fuck out. So here it comes. Then it gave me those nightmares, those anxiety became worse to a point where, you know, you don't want it to happen. So I stopped sleeping for 3 months, I guess. And then you say, no, it's not possible. But I find a system, you know, if I sleep 18 minutes every single, for example, every 16 hours or something, if I sleep 18 minutes, then I get 2 hours all the time for energized. And then I never go to sleep. So I can have those nightmares, because the nightmares just went up and went up and went up. So I start not sleeping. And what happened with you guys when you don't get any sleep? You get crazy, right? Try to not sleep in a month. I promise you, you will get crazy. So my wife said to one point, you know what? You have 2 choices here. I said, yeah. Because she said, you know, go seek help. I said, yeah. From who? So she said, okay, you have 2 choices here. Either you go and seek help today, or you don't see your kids anymore. Then we go, and you don't see him. And when someone, you know, puts that option in your, and she also said, you know, you haven't been aware, you haven't been present for your family, you haven't been yada yada yada. It felt like, you know, a punch in my stomach, because I went through a whole nother level in myself, and now I have to take this. And you know, I was like stone cold, like it didn't take me, but it did actually. So I went to this psychology, and she said, okay, so I'm going to do this Madsen test, it calls, to see where you in this scala is, in this scale, where your like anxiety level are. So 5 is, okay, this guy is seriously, it can be a suicide from it. Or 1 is like, yeah, he had some, yeah, you know, some feelings about it. But it's a pretty, it's about, I don't know, 100 questions or something. It was a 5, no doubt about it. And she was like, okay, we have to take this seriously. And you know, you want to know the fun part, guys? It was that I tried to lie, you know. So I thought, if I lie on this like paper, then I get it through. So Jesus Christ, if she know that I was seriously not honest, I don't even know what I'm going to have to for scale. So it was really, really bad. But she said, you know what, you have to fight this now, not tomorrow. We book a session for you, etc., etc., etc. And I want to talk to you and say, I had everything, my thoughts, my challenges, I just kept it to myself, because I saw it as a signs of weakness to share my mental illness, you know, because it was, like I said, it was nothing you get. It's something that people said because they don't want to work. That was my reality. So I can't have it. There's no way. But what happened is that, you know, I can't sleep. And she says, you have to write this diary. I'm sorry, for a whole week now. And we're going to see how many hours you sleep. And you're going to notice. I'm not going to say what's much and what's little. You're going to write it up, and then we're going to talk about it, right? I said, okay. And she said, yeah. So from Monday and the next Monday, I went to her and she said, okay, so how have you slept? I said, like usual. Okay. Can I see it? Yes. So before I see it, we normally sleep, 40 hours a week. 15 hours is very, very, very critical, very. I said, okay, you have slept 6. So what do you think about it? And this is in 7 days. And I said, 6 hours. Yeah, it sounds about right. And she said, it's almost not, how is it impossible? I said, easy. I don't want to sleep. So I force myself not to sleep. So every single night I just, you know, stay up and watch in the ceiling. It was dark. I tried my best, but I didn't want to fall asleep, because when I fall asleep, I either get an panic attack, or I get those nightmares that, you know, want me to not live anymore. So this is what was in my case the best could happen. Like, stay awake and you don't have to get through it. But sometimes the panic attack came even still, but it came in a more lighter way because I was still awake. And yeah, so she said, this is critical. We need to do something about it. I said, okay. And then I said, you know what, I got this. You don't have to give me anything. And she said, yeah, okay, so come back tomorrow and tell me what you meant. So I stayed up a whole night. I read 2 books like a machine. One of them was the monk who sold his Ferrari, and the other one was The Power of Now from Eckhart Tolle. I read them. Like I said, I was in my bubble. I didn't know if it was Wednesday or Thursday. I had no clue. I just went in my room and I read and read, because in my mind it was like, okay, she's educated, so she has learned by books. I can learn by books as well. I just need to know which one. So I Google and did stuff. And then that night was the worst one, because that night I couldn't run anymore. I need to. I sat in my bed, and I just took this paper and I just write down whatever I thought. And seriously. I didn't know when I cried last time, but there I was like, you know, I was crushed, seriously. My body has knocked me the fuck out, because I felt I am so alone. I have no power left. I can't fight this anymore. I don't got it, because when I write this, you know, took all those ghosts, all those ghosts, like I have shuffled away and just, you know, try to dribble. They came all out at the same time. It was so it was not a good call to have with yourself, but it's very, very critical they have it. So I just challenged myself and said, okay, so this is seriously, this is what my life looked like today. This is who I am. This is what I have done to people. This is what I do to myself. And when you look at it from a point of view, when it becomes, actually, it's very honestly, then you don't like yourself a lot, and you do start to hate yourself. And then you are like, okay, so what can I do from here? Do I have to apologize to people or whatever? So I started to call up people to a night, and, you know, say, I'm so sorry for this one. I can't even understand how I could do it for you. I went to my mother. I had like tears in my eyes, and she said, you have been crying. I said, yeah, I have actually. She said, why? And then I told her about my mental illness. And now I talk, like I said, from the first panic attack, we talk a range of 4 to 5 months. So it's not the second day or third day. I've kept it for myself so long time. So when I burst out, I was like crushed. Seriously, my self-esteem was nada. My self-confidence was zero. Nothing was. I just said, you know what, to my mother, seriously, I don't want this anymore. If I don't sleep any night, even one night again, I end it. I don't care. I end it, and no one can stop me. Seriously. So I don't know if this is goodbye, or if we see each other tomorrow. I don't know, but I don't care actually. I can't take it anymore. And she'd be so very, very scared, and she said, I need to this and that. So I took my car, I went, and I just drove. I drove and drove and drove. And you know, when you drive, you have your thoughts, and you can't do anything when you drive instead of just talking to people. So I just thought and I thought and I thought, and then it came down to, okay, so if I rationalize this, I have a daughter, I can't do it to her. I just can't. And then in that car, I decided to fight it as well. So I took help. I done every step they asked me to. I lowered my goals from 200,000 a month to do my bed, and that's it. So, and I was very proud of myself. You know, if I could in 3 days brush my teeth, it was, you know, in that level, from a guy who went down from 200,000 a month and close every client and this and that, to just, yeah, so if I can put on, if I can go out and walk 10 meters, I am very, very, very happy. So I had to, you know, build up myself very, very successfully. And it took about 4 months from that day to, I felt, okay, so now I'm able to do it again. I'm able to work again. But it was seriously that night, it was a hard night, because I was prepared to end it 100%, and I didn't even care what happened tomorrow. No clue. So you have to take it seriously, because it can happen to everyone, even the one who says that impossible and have this dominant personality and leader in possession and whatever. I'm so sorry that my story maybe I know that my Grammarly not is 100%, but I really hope that you understand my emotions and how far and how deep I was in it, because seriously, you come to a point when taking your life seems like the right way. You can even rationalize it. It makes sense, you know. So we have to take serious on it, because if I didn't have my daughter, then with the high percentages of chance, my life would not be looking what it is today. Maybe I wouldn't sit here. So yeah, so that's why I'm sharing with you guys, because it's when you're in there and you try to be stubborn, it's a very, very, very quick path until you feel yourself alone and want to end it. It goes very, very quick.
Thank you so much for sharing, Rickard. I mean, it's really, you're truly very brave to do that, to share your story,
of course.
And to talk about it. And you're always one to tell me to stop apologizing. So don't just say sorry. You're very brave, and thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Dee, do you want to introduce yourself and follow up on that? Tell us your story.
Sure, Rickard, we're happy you're here today, and thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm sure it will resonate with others out there. So I am Dee Burrowes, a bit of a back history. I worked in the hospitality industry for 12 years, right up to the role of assistant GM, and I got burnt out. And I think that was what solidified what I'm doing now. So I am a mindset strategist and a mental health coach. So what I do predominantly support my clients who goes through, through coaching, NLP and mental health modalities where their mental and emotional agility is not there. So this is where I come in and I support them with that. For me personally, it was being burnt out. So always a high achiever. Academically, I have to achieve, dotted the I's, cross the T. It has to be perfect. And we all know there's no perfect ideal world out there. And I just had to, and that has been translated into my work life and other areas of my life. So it has to be perfect. Anything I put my mark on, it just has to be crystal clear, purity, just perfect. There's no room for error. And that's how I was and has always been. So, my emotions obviously was compromised, my mental well-being was compromised, and obviously that manifested into my physical being. So there were, low mood, irritability, my physical body was I was tense, and couldn't cope at times. And I had to step back because I realized it was doing more detriment to my soul than anything else, which was translated into me being a high performer and not being that perfect being, if you will, because then it showed up in my work and it wasn't the perfect work I was looking for. So I just took some time out, and I took around 3 months out to kind of recoup myself. And I, started to connect with people, those who I trusted, to say, this is what I'm going through and how can I get help? And I sought the support of a coach who never went to the GP route because I didn't want to be, it wasn't the extreme state where I needed to be prescribed anything, but it was more exhaustion from me personally. And I knew I had to step back from my role. And so I started to, exercise more, walk, journaling, self-care. Self-care was an important part in helping me to recover, if you will, from burnt out. And that's so very important. And that's what I tell my clients nowadays. And even for myself, my self-care is non-negotiable. I mean, and it's all about setting healthy boundaries within your life. And, we talk about being high achievers, accomplishing our goals, but what is what that roadmap are we going to take to achieve those goals? Then we're compromising our emotional and mental well-being.
Great, thank you so much, Dee. You both have quite similar stories in a way of being perfectionists, but two very different angles of hospitality anyway. What advice do you have for the next generation of hoteliers who are entering our industry? Because both of you come from we are a very fast-paced industry. What's your advice for young hoteliers entering the industry now?
Okay, so for me, if I can take that, if you will, the first thing is it's one, being open-minded. But before we get to being open-minded and receptive, it has to be an industry that we really want to get in, and don't just go into the industry off the cuff of it. And I remember years ago when, worked in the industry, you'd had, somebody walked in and said they need a job in the hospitality industry because it was easier to get in. There were no barriers to entry. Once you had the right mindset, if you will, we train you up for a couple of months and you're a receptionist, right? Until you prove yourself otherwise. So you have to have the passion for the industry, because the industry is all about serving. We're in the spirit of serving. So you think about going on a holiday and you want to be taken care of. So you have to be open-minded. I would also say connect with other industry professionals. And why I said that, when I worked in the industry, as naive as it might sound now, I thought the hospitality industry was just the four corners of a five-star hotel. There are a myriad of other areas that we can delve into. And I found that out after I did some soul searching and after I did some research about the industry, right? So you have to be passionate about the industry and be open-minded and receptive.
I couldn't agree more. So I think Dee has covered it all. So I agree.
That's interesting what you say about connecting with industry professionals. I think having a mentor in the industry has always been something that's very, very valuable. It's been very valuable for me as a student in hospitality, and I'm still in contact with my mentor today. RaizUp is actually starting a mentor scheme next month as well. So you can find out more on weRaizUp.com, and we will keep everyone in touch with that. We'd love to get in touch with some hospitality hotel schools here in Sweden if they are interested in that. I just think that it's so interesting to hear that both of you have come from this kind of, as we say in Swedish, prestationsångest or perfectionism. And in the last few months, with the current pandemic that we're still in at the moment, we've seen that people have had a loss of purpose and a lot of uncertainty in their job. What have you learned from the last 20 months of the pandemic that you feel that we could use to move forward in our industry?
That's a great question. What have I learned? I've learned so much things. One is that you can do more. You're capable of more than you think until you don't have any choice to do it. And the other one is that if we work as a unit, we can accomplish very much together. The team spirit is so much more important than like the one-man show. Yeah, and also that leadership from our leaders within the organizations have to be on point. Otherwise, we can go very quick in the wrong directions. So yeah, the leadership has been great in our organization, and what it has proved us also from the leaders who are talk to talk or walk to walk. And what I mean by that is sometimes the leaders, they hide behind a title as a general manager or CEO, but now they haven't had a chance. If you want, then you're not going to direct your ship in the direction we need to like hold our nose or have a breath until we really storm out. They also need to go down to the breakfast and and serve the guests and need to stand in the reception and in the front office. They also need to do the sales calls. They can't hide behind a desk and title. So that's why what I like to see, which has show that we are in this together, and which one has show that this is my team and no one else. So yeah, that's the biggest lesson have learned, how to become how to show that you're a leader more than just talk about it in this areas.
Yeah, I'll just chip in there. For me, it's about taking things back to basic. So taking back to basic, both personally and professionally. This pandemic for the past 18 to 20 months have taught me how resilient I can be as an individual, and how until we're in it, we don't know how we can come out of it and how we can cope with our challenges, right? And as you mentioned, walk the talk, what type of leader you are. So you practice what you preach pretty much. So for me, I'm telling my clients, you got to get up in the morning, you have to have your morning routine. Am I doing that for myself? Am I refueling myself? So I like this analogy. When you're on the plane, the flight attendant says, in case of emergency, you have to put your own mask on first. And that's pretty much the walk that I'm taking. So I have to refuel myself up first before I can extend the petrol to you. So when we go to that petrol station, I have to put the petrol in my tank because it's petrol. But if you have a diesel vehicle, I can't say, okay, let me turn my vehicle over and put it in for you. So you have to fill yourself up. So that means, taking things back to basic of, what floats your boat? What is self-care to you? Do you think it's overindulgence? Self-care could just mean turning the mobile phone off. Self-care could be turning the news off. Self-care could be going for a walk when we were allowed to. Self-care mean reading a book. Self-care mean getting up in the morning and say, do you know what? I am grateful for today, and just journaling about it. So it's all about taking things back to basic for me. And that has helped me to pivot and bounce back both personally and professionally.
I have to say that being a mum of 2 children, plus being at home, plus working, and having to have that juggle on a normal everyday life, but then putting on this pandemic level where now my families are in different countries and they're being affected by the pandemic differently to how I am, with all the regulations and recommendations. Sometimes I'm actually looking at the news where my family is more than the news that I'm in the country I'm in myself, because I feel more worried for them than I do of myself. And I think it's really, really challenging. This period of time has been so challenging because everything's been in this kind of microcosm of a kettle, and we're all at home doing this and then working through essentially these four sides.
Yeah.
It's been really challenging, but I feel that I feel as though people are starting to come out of it now. People are starting to feel more confident to see friends, to meet people, and I think that's really important. But what do you think that as we start to kind of come out of things and start to travel to meet our family and friends and to go to meetings, what do you think that people should take into account when they're doing that for their mental health in comparison to how people used to travel and how people used to work before the pandemic? Do you think that there's anything that in this between stage of not quite how it used to be, but not quite as locked down as it was?
I'll take that, if you will. So we're social creatures. We want connection. We want a cuddle here and there. We want to talk to our friends. We want to meet up with them. We want to go to the pub for a drink. You know, we want to socialize. And of course, we're in the hospitality industry. That's, you know, it's a spirit of serving. I don't think the apprehension is gone totally, because you're thinking, oh, if I travel somewhere, then I have to be quarantined. It depends what happens, you know, and there are different guidelines with whatever jurisdiction you're in. I said this before, just be receptive, follow the government guidelines, follow the guidelines where you're going, but also taking care of yourself. So one good thing, taking care of your immune system, if you will, because, you know, you have to, you know, refuel yourself, if you will. So yeah, just be open-minded, follow the guidelines, and take care of yourself and your family. So yeah.
I think we've discussed a lot about self-awareness and self-help here and self-care. But what's important is what's linked to all the other topics that we've talked about is how organizations can support their individuals, how leaders can, like Rickard says, walk the walk or talk the talk and look after their team. Like in Rickard's case, how an organization can see somebody going down that tunnel vision of, you know, being a passionate salesperson, but this is actually affecting your mental health. So organizations need to actually pull people up and say, stop, wait a minute, guys, you need help. And Dee, have you had any experience there with, you know, helping, or how do organizations help individuals to really stop and listen?
Yeah, thanks for that. That's a great segue into what I have to say, to be honest. You know, when organizations say we're investors in people, they literally need to mean that. So that, like how we have first aiders, so now we have mental health first aiders, and companies, because I get into companies and I support them with their wealth and their well-being. And now companies are slowly getting into like, okay, this is quite important. Why is it important? One, to take care of our talent, but secondly, it will save them money. So one, if that talent, that employee goes off sick for 3 months to 6 months, they will have to get somebody to replace them. So they are now paying two talents, the permanent staff and the temporary staff. But also it affects productivity, it affects ROI, but it also affects what's the word I'm looking for, credibility as well for the company, right? So companies, I would say, just the very same, we have first aiders and we have designated first aiders. We need to have a well-being associate incorporated within the company, and ever so often have workshops, nothing long, 20 minutes as a reminder, incorporate this in the morning meeting, talk about it. It's okay, we're 2021. There's no need to hide this under the carpet. It's best that we actually talk about this in saving somebody from doing something detrimental to their well-being. And interestingly enough, recently I did a research of, you know, how many chefs have committed suicide. globally, and it's actually quite a bit. So if companies slowly but surely start to incorporate mental well-being within their, so make it be a part of their new staff program, then you have a charter here for probationary period within 3 months. Then you also have a charter where you go through a week then of mental well-being, and if you're not coping, who to speak to. And one very important thing, from time to time, trust is an important thing. So we have to extend that level of trust to our employees for them to know, do you know what, it's okay if you come to us, there's a level of confidentiality. So this won't go anywhere. It's between us and the professional that we're going to get to come in. It is so very important. I cannot go on enough about how important it is for companies to incorporate well-being.
Agreed. But it's also very important that you sometimes ask the question, how are you? Seriously, you talk about trust. I think trust is the most crucial skill or attribute to have, because without trust, you won't open up. When I went through what I went through, my closest boss, he loved me because I was a revenue monster, but he wasn't a great leader. I didn't know him. I didn't need him, because I done those numbers with or without him. It don't matter. I was myself, and if he had some skill, he would understand. Okay, so your behavior is not what we need, and something is wrong because you ain't yourself. And if he would challenge me and said, numbers away, we don't, your mental illness, your health is much more important that you drive in 100% revenue, then my life would maybe I wouldn't have to go through it, because then I had someone who again can challenge me. Because me and him, we went to war, because I was, like I said, I didn't have any temper, and he said, yeah, your colleague don't like you, and yada yada yada. And I said, okay, so what? I drive those numbers. And then he said, yeah, it's true. So his leadership was also an effect of what he shouldn't have done, because everyone else saw that I wasn't myself. So how couldn't he? Because he was not a good leader. I can talk about it because I have been it myself. Last time I was a leader, I was a crappy one, seriously, because I saw it from a bad point of view. I thought, okay, so how can I shine here and take the next step? Now, how can my employees? So leadership is a very, very crucial thing, and it's a very important that you actually care about people generally, not because it says in your contract. Otherwise, it can be very dangerous, because if you don't have the trust and people, close up, then it's like this says one day they say, you know what, I can't do this, and then you have 4 months in best case 4 months to maybe replace them. So yeah, if you just genuinely care and show the confidentiality, and that you seriously want what's best for them, before all those numbers, before all the pressure, before all the stress, nothing will go wrong. But today we are so revenue oriented that we see people as numbers, and that's why I love the quote Jet Li says sometimes when why great people becomes entrepreneurs, because it says, why should you kill yourself for a company who would replace you within 2 weeks if you fall down? So if you feel like, okay, so I'm just a number, then seriously, it's not worth it. I have been at companies where I feel that way, and sometimes, of course, when you're an employee, you can have, they don't appreciate me, don't this and that. But if you have confidence for your closest boss, and you see, I can talk to this one, and you also, this is very, very important, you have to have in the end of the day, the most crucially, you have had a great self-esteem, because without self-esteem, it don't matter how much trust, no matter how great employees you have, and the one, etc. Because if you can't believe in yourself, nothing else matters. So it starts within, always. Very, very, very important. So lead yourself, and then ask the other one. And and this is not only for the leaders, it's for us as well. Even if you're an employee or you're the CEO, it don't matter. You can always ask a person, how are you? You're good? yeah, I'm fine. And you can hear in their voice, are they fine or they not, especially in this pandemic stuff. You know, you're at home, you have got the corona, you're scared, you that this and that. Just be yourself, you know, and try to be helpful. We only live once, so yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's it.
actually
Yeah.
one of the purposes of having the mental health awareness and travel week this week, is for everybody to stop and ask our colleagues or
yeah.
ask somebody else in the industry, how are you doing? How can I help? Just like Monica has in her book, we ask our guests so much, how can we help? It's how we answer the phone even. We need to ask each other that. And I think we can come out of it as a much stronger industry together with much better leadership if we can just ask that simple question. We have just run out of time, guys. I want to say thank you so much for joining us today. If there's anybody who has any questions, you can put them in the chat now. We just have the chat is overflowing with support and saying thank you for sharing your stories, because it really is so important to share your story for others in our industry, and perhaps others who are joining our industry who don't know really what to expect. Evelyn and I would love to hear your feedback as well on RaizUp Sweden, so please feel free to comment. This will also be on RaizUp's YouTube channel, or reach out to us directly if you'd like to help us out. So thank you so much for your support. It's all very much appreciated. Thank you so much, guys.